Tonight on Ctv3 News, sugar shortage takes center stage at today's House of Representatives. More load shedding coming your way. Today, BEL outlines some of the measures set in place to reduce the power outages. Heat wave impacts the agriculture sector. The sugar industry is feeling its wrath. And we'll tell you about the Belize Disabilities Bill 2024 and the Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill presented today in Parliament. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Thursday, May 30th, 2024.
As the BMDC, we are the marketing arm for the Ministry of Agriculture, so we have to ensure there is food security. And secondly, we have to ensure that there are markets for the local produce. So what we do in this case, with food security, whenever there is no local production, we are the importing body. When it comes now to markets for farmers, most of the time, as I mentioned, if there is not enough production in the country, we would import part of it and we would buy that from the remainder from the farmers. In that case, we assure them that there is a market for their produce.
3 years ago, BMDC was not what it is right now, believe me. You know, we have invested heavily in all branches, and especially in the Big Falls branch and the Orange Rock branch, to equip our facilities for growth and for more farmers to come into stream. The greatest impact is in the rice industry. When we started, there was a production of 300,000 pounds of rice paddy. This year, we're expecting 3.5 to 4 million pounds of rice paddy.
The other line of product that we are dealing with is the Belize Jewels fruit pulps. This is something that is new on the pipeline. We deal with the small farmers. We buy the pulps from them, we package it, and then we have it for our local market. All of this is an effort to ensure that we have a market for these fruits that would otherwise have been wasted if we weren't doing the pulping at the moment. When it comes to beekeeping, the BMDC has improved on its installations at the Orange Rock branch, where we have our buying center.
We sell to marketing board with contract. So whatever we produce, they buy from us.
The BMDC doing a very good job, yes. They buy our rice and they pay we. We don't have to wait to piece payment. They pay we 60% and at 2-3 months they give you the next rest.
We deliver our products to them and they pay us one time and look like the rice financial is going up and look like it's helping us a lot.
We make wise decisions as a business entity to ensure that the farmers benefit and at the same time we make an income out of it to be able to do more projects.
Fast approaching. Pro FC is back in Orange Walk Town on Saturday, June 15th inside the Orange Walk Multi-Purpose Complex, exclusively on Channel 53 on Centaur.
The Office of the Prime Minister invites you to the National MSME Roadshow 2024. Join us for free workshops in marketing using AI, finance, business planning, and customer service. Connect with financial institutions for access to finance opportunities, meet with key government agencies, and showcase your business at the Roadshow Expo in an effort to get more locals to buy Belizean. We will be in Orange Walk Town, June 13th to the 15th, PG, June 27th to the 29th, Corozal, July 11th to the 13th, Benque, July 25th to the 27th, San Pedro, August 15th to the 17th, Keycocker, August 23rd to the 24th, Belmopan, August 29th to the 31st, Hopkins, September 13th to the 14th, San Ignacio, September 26th to the 28th, Tangriga, October 10th to the 12th, Placencia, October 18th to the 19th, and Belize City, October 24th to the 26th. Sign up today for the National MSME Roadshow. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Beltrade or call us at 880-3737. Sign up today for the National MSME Roadshow. Let's get your business on the road.
Good evening. With your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7, I am Joanna Rodriguez. The issue of an ongoing sugar shortage across the country was brought up for discussion inside the House of Representatives this morning. Area Representative for Corozal North, Ugo Pat, raised concern over the current scarcity, which has been attributed to contraband into neighboring Mexico and Guatemala, who are currently facing their own issues, which have driven the prices for the commodity sky high. Pat also raised concern over reports which have surfaced indicating that ministerial intervention has allowed Malaysian sugar to be smuggled across the border under the pretense of an export permit.
And what makes matter worse, Mr. Speaker, we have some very reliable reports about our law enforcement officers who are doing an excellent job at our borders that at countless occasions have intercepted sugar being, and I will call it unofficially exported, rather not to call it contraband, just to get a call from ministerial intervention indicating to them, look, you have to release that sugar because this particular person has a permit to export. A permit accordingly, and I'm not making any accusations, member from Orange Rock South, but they're saying that they have an export permit from Baja. In those circumstances, all the law enforcement officers have to do is give back that sugar. Before their eyes, they're seeing that sugar being contrabanded either into Mexico or Guatemala, and there is nothing else that we can do. Yet, when Ms. Betty wants to do her candies in order for her to be able to provide for her children, she cannot get sugar in country. This is untenable. This cannot continue, and this must be addressed.
As a cane farmer himself, Ugo Pat says he does not support an increase in the price of the commodity. However, says there are various avenues which government can undertake to help alleviate the issue.
I, as a sugarcane farmer, I don't support at this point in time any increase in the price of sugar because it's going to hit, Mr. Speaker, the poorest in this country. It's going to hit those socially marginalized people in our sector, in our society. And at this point in time, I don't think that the increase of price of sugar is an option that we want to consider. From a point of view of production, the cost thereof which has increased exponentially, it's easily justifiable. You see what happens with corn, prices has gone up. You see what happens with poultry, prices have gone up. Any other grain, prices have gone up. Meat, for instance, it has gone up. When you ask the farmers, why is it that poultry and meat and grains have gone up in this country? It's simple. The cost of production has gone up. No farmer will produce a product and not make any profit out of it. Yet, you hear the general sentiment of the cane farmers. They are willing to sacrifice the underpayment, if I may call it, of sugar locally because there are people who consider the rest of society. But it cannot be that you're asking the farmers, look, sugar has to be controlled because we don't want the cost of living to ignite, yet those in charge really aren't doing their part. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask those present to look. It's simple. Go around the businesses, go around the people, and you guys know exactly who it is that's exporting, and if I may call it contraband sugar. And secondly, if we allow our officers to do their job, this crisis will come to an end. In the event that this does not happen, Mr. Speaker, it's simple. BSI has indicated that they have increased the supply of sugar in this country. They could triplicate it. Right now we're speaking about 13 to 14,000 or probably 16,000 tons of sugar locally. They could increase that to 30,000. The situation will not improve because our borders are so porous.
Agriculture Minister Honorable Hossemai has been at the helm of government's response to the ongoing sugar crisis. Responding to Ugo Pat today, the minister clarified that while it is the Supplies Control Unit who approves export licenses for sugar, there has been any new permit given in recent times.
So even if we raise the price, for argument's sake, to $1 or 95 cents, and the retail is maybe at 120, 115, the sugar will still find itself across the border because there is $2 a pound. So we have to manage that. How do we manage? The borders are porous. And I will say this. I have never called anybody to release sugar. There is no export permit for sugar. So they cannot say that this man have a permit, he could go. There is none. Only 3 to 4 persons have received in the past export permits. But so we are right now working with BSI, Supplies Control, the Sugar Board, to see where we can reach a decent price, one that will not make the lives of Belizeans more difficult. We are a government with a social conscience.
In terms of a solution, Minister Mai says there has been a team assigned to work on investigating who the players are in the lucrative sugar contraband and how they can be stopped.
The government doesn't sell sugar. There's one entity or two who sell sugar, one that sells local, BSI. And they have a list, which I forwarded to you already, remember, of all the wholesalers that they sell sugar to. Now, what we did, Supplies Control, we went to these stores individually and say, where do you buy this sugar from? And they said, I buy it from this. We checked the lists that BSI gave us, and it's there, very few of them. But there are huge buyers whose names we have never seen on a receipt selling to a store. Right? So these people must be selling their sugar somewhere, but not to the stores in the country. So Supplies Control now is targeting those who receive sugar from the mill but have no evidence of selling it in the stores. So the only way we believe that we can reduce the amount of sugar leaking to Mexico and to Guatemala is to find a way to increase the price, the control price, but it has to be based on facts and numbers that we are given. In 2014, you will remember because we served the association at the same time, they presented to us a rationale. Why is it that they want to increase from this price to this price, right? Today, we are seeking the same information so we can see what is the cost of production today. The cost of production have gone up for everything across the world, for every single thing, corn, rice, beans, everything. But for sugarcane, for sugar, it has not increased to meet the farmers' high costs. The farmers are sacrificing, actually are subsidizing. But we have said they have said to us, we want you to raise the price to this amount. And we are saying, hold on, you have to justify to us how have you come up with that price.
While Minister Mai says an increase in the price of sugar in the local market seems unavoidable, the ministry is working on finding the right formula that will allow the industry to benefit while also taking the consumer into consideration.
And that is the reason why Prime Minister and myself in Mexico City have been negotiating with the Mexican government. The Mexicans have a huge shortfall of sugar this year. Some of their mills have closed down. They have a serious labor shortage like we do right now. And the future price for them seems to be going up. So we have, and the Prime Minister has led this discussion with the President of Mexico, asking them to kindly consider if we could export our sugar to them. Of course, the tariff on sugar, remember, is very high. I think it's 8 pesos for a kilogram of sugar. If you want to export a kilogram of sugar, it's 8 pesos, $1.25, I think, for a kilogram. So it's excessive high. So we cannot compete unless the government of Mexico is kind to us and say, I will give you a quota of 20,000 tons. That may help us a little. And a very important point you made, remember, we have discussed this at length with the technocrats in the ministry. Should we then encourage ASR to produce or make more sugar available locally? Our consumption right now annually is like 11,000 tons locally. So some have said, listen, why don't we ask them to produce 22,000 tons, right? But at an increased price, if you increase the price, then the numbers, are we looking at the numbers right now, then the cost, because sugar produced locally don't have much export costs. We don't have local handling costs. We don't have ocean freight. So if you remove those costs, then it may be looking better for the farmers. But again, as you said, we have porous borders, and it may find itself across the border. I mean, we have the same problem with many, many things, right? And so we are studying it. We are working. I have people working on it right now. And we believe that in 2 weeks we will have a very good position exactly on where we want the price to be.
Minister Mai today also confirmed that in the coming weeks, the Ministry of Agriculture is expected to make a comprehensive presentation to Cabinet on the ongoing sugar crisis. Following today's House sitting, Prime Minister John Briceño, during an interview with the media, also spoke on the ongoing sugar crisis. Like the Minister of Agriculture, PM Briceño says that a solution to the crisis requires careful consideration towards the entire sugar industry, but also attention for Belizean consumers.
We also have a social responsibility to the Belizean consumers, one. Secondly, we cannot compete with the prices across the Chetumal. The brown sugar that's being sold at BSR 44 cents a pound is being sold for about almost $2 a pound in Chetumal. So if you want to say we have to raise to the price over there to stop the contraband, it's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. But thirdly, it's also not fair on the cane farmers who have been, well, in effect, subsidizing sugar for the rest of our consumers. And so the fourth point that I'd like to make is that what he has said, the minister, is that now we have to find a formula where we can justify an increase, where we can assist the farmers and help to try to see how best he could slow down a bit the attempt to contraband. But also we have to work on enforcement. And there's a number of things. And what he was saying, price control have been going to these supermarkets and telling them, who do you buy your sugar from? Where from? And wanting to trace from the store to the wholesaler to BSI. And by doing that, kind of what we call reverse engineering, you'll be able to see who of these wholesalers are not selling to the local stores. And then after that, then we can go to BSI and say, look, these people are not selling the sugar at the local market, they're allowing it for it to be contraband. And also we have to try to tighten as best as we possibly can our borders, but as you know, our borders are porous. We have a very large border, and you could cross almost at any point in our border. So it's a number of things that we have to take into consideration, and it's not just a clear cut, or just raise the price, because that's something we will not do, just to raise it, to stop the contraband into Mexico and to Guatemala.
For several weeks, the country has been experiencing incredible heat conditions brought on by heat waves affecting most of the country. The heat conditions, which bring along an ultimate drought, have been taking a toll on Belize's agriculture sector, including the sugar industry here in the north. Current weather conditions, according to Chairman of the Sugar Industry Control Board, Marcos Osorio, will undoubtedly have major effects on the sugar crop season in the coming year, and even the production estimate during the ongoing crop.
The present drought conditions that the country is experiencing will have, and is already having, an impact on the production for next year. So we are forecasting at this time, but we will know until the crop is over and we do the necessary ground assessments. But we are already having an idea that our production may fall below the 1 million tons, maybe to around the drought of 2019 production numbers. So it is very concerning. Regrowths are very stressed out. We are seeing canes that were planted last year. We are seeing some parcels that are already dry by 30–40%. So that we are seeing a huge impact of these weather conditions in the sugarcane industry, and it will have serious implications on production of next year.
As the crop season slowly comes to an end, Osorio says the industry has seen a drop in the cane supply, which can be attributed to labor and also exhaustion associated with the end of crop.
As we reach to this time of the crop, when we are already moving towards the end of the season, cane cutters are tired. So they would go make that huge effort to go to the fields, do the harvesting. So we are finding that the daily tons that each cane cutter produces per day keeps dropping. So we are finding shortages in the deliveries. For example, yesterday, the mill had a shutdown of about 3 hours in the morning because there was no cane coming to the mill, but also because we were coming out of the weekend. And once we get to this time of the year, once the weekend comes, the cane cutters say, you know what, I need a break. I'll take Saturday and Sunday, which then contributes to having not enough cane to supply to the mill on Monday. But then it picked up by the afternoon, and this morning things are going well. We had a blackout earlier that turned off the mill also. That should not be happening because the mill should be able to stand on their own. Exactly. But it's happening, and this for the second time. So, and now they're waiting on BEL to give them the go-ahead to start the mill. So, but, you know, challenges over and over, and I think as we move along, it's important that farmers look after their interests. Farmers are the producers of the raw material. The mill mills the cane to produce the sugar. It's important that all farmers work together because their interest is produce the sugar cane, the raw material. Why would they look or try to defend the interests of the mill? You know, I believe farmers should look after themselves, unite. I know what I'm asking for is far-fetched, but I believe we need to keep working towards it, that we can bring all the 4 associations together, and we should then see good for the farmers if one day we can achieve that.
The country of Belize has been forced to withstand electricity shredding in 2024. It is an inevitable experience since the globe is facing unbearable high temperatures. As you now know, Belize relies heavily on purchasing electricity from Comisión Federal de Electricidad in Mexico in order to satisfy local consumption. With several weeks of experiencing power outages, consumers are becoming intolerant. Today, BEL provided the media with an update of what it is doing to meet the local demand after pledging to bring online a gas turbine to alleviate the dependency of getting electric watts from Mexico. We start the conversation on that relative.
The other challenge that we're dealing with here is Belcogen. Belcogen has notified us that they're experiencing some technical difficulties with their infrastructure. They have indicated to us that they should be offline for about 2 weeks. So that's one challenge that we're managing there. Babco as well, they have notified us that they need to carry out some very urgent maintenance their wrongs. I guess the public will remember and our customers will recall that we were anticipating at the time bringing online the gas turbine at the Milate facility. Happy to report, as we did previously, that we were able to get that facility online. We completed the upgrades. And since having the gas turbine online, I can tell you that it has helped us to minimize the need for load shedding. So that has been a positive development. However, we thought it very important to give an update now because we have had some important developments since that time that obviously has affected service, which customers are experiencing. The critical issue for us, there are a number of critical issues and we're managing it. And before we get into the details, I want to say this, right? The challenges that we're experiencing with respect to generation supply, it is one that we can get through as a community. We can get through it in terms of support from the community in the form of energy conservation. Having said that, a number of issues, and each of them we have to manage, as you would have heard earlier from our CEO. So there, climate change, it's an issue that is being experienced worldwide. We're experiencing extreme temperatures, dry weather conditions. That's having an impact on our infrastructure. So a number of the outages that would have been experienced, I believe, in particular up north, is a result of the weather. There's damage to the infrastructure. When that occurs, there are issues with respect to being able to take energy from CFE, and of course, being able to then do some readjustments to ensure that we can meet the demand on the other side of wherever that damage occurs on the transmission line. In a nutshell, what I want to say is that, if you'll allow me to just repeat that part, right? The challenge here is weather-related damages to the transmission system, and as a result, we then need to source more energy from the hydroelectric facilities, right? That then is causing
the hydro plants is something we're managing on a daily basis. What happens is when we get energy from CFE, and the benefit of getting more energy from CFE is that we do not then need to rely as much on these hydro plants, and then we're able to allow the dam to build up, right? Allow the water levels to increase the less we use them. So the idea is utilize as much sources across the country as possible. Do not draw down as much on the hydro plants as we currently need to. So as long as we start to reduce the reliance on them, we're able to build back up the water levels, and that will help us to get through if we have any eventualities of something happening.
All right, I understand. Like you said, this weekend there are going to be changes in terms of the...
But while the gas turbine is online, the electricity crisis does reduce. The dams that host water for the production of electricity are going dry because of the intense dry weather. It is a condition not controllable by humans, and it is causing an alarm as to what will happen next if the rains are late this year. Additionally, Belcogen has notified BL that there is an issue with their infrastructure and will be unable to provide power to the national grid for the next 2 weeks.
What we're looking at is trying to manage the varying independent power producers across the country to ensure that we can serve as much customers as possible. What we're doing is to try to minimize the load shedding. We are working with our large customers to ask them to provide support, so they would go on generators so that we minimize the load shedding, do not have as much load shedding during that period. Our aim, of course, is to supply every customer, all times throughout the day. However, as the generators across the country experience issues, we do from time to time have to have these load shedding. Our plans, of course, is to work with all customers, try to get our gas turbine in San Pedro online, which is currently projected for June 15th. Once that comes online, that gives us an additional 20 megawatts. It gives us a bit of breathing space. However, the hydroelectric dams are reducing their output. So we do, while we're working to get that online, we do realize that the resources in country is depleting, but that is one of the big positives that we're looking forward to.
One of the factors that has helped.
So recently, CFE has allowed us 40 megawatts during the day and 15 megawatts at night. What that has done is, during these periods, we do not need to utilize our internal sources as much as we typically would if we're not getting any energy from Mexico. So our intentions there is to, of course, reduce the amounts, or basically save our internal resources as much as possible, so that should there be a need from CFE to reduce their supply to us, then we would have to then rely back on the sources in country. So that is the idea. Of course, with the additional gas turbine going in, then we would have that 20 megawatts and then be able to supply or have more generation available.
But that would be like a gap in time.
Paying consumers and an unforeseeable end to the electricity crisis in Belize. What is the plan for the next week or two? That is what Tariq Marin, Manager, Distribution Planning Department at BEL, had to respond today.
What we will do is continue to rely on our large customers, asking them for support, work with the community to do the energy efficiency programs, do things such as doing family time. So instead of having 3 rooms with ACs being on, I'll do 1 movie time at night time with 1 AC on. That is a way in which we can do these energy conservation methods. What we're looking at is trying to manage the varying independent power producers across the country to ensure that we can serve as much customers as possible. What we're doing is to try to minimize the load shedding. We are working with our large customers to ask them to provide support, so they would go on generators so that we minimize the load shedding, do not have as much load shedding during that period. So recently, CFE has allowed us 40 megawatts during the day and 15 megawatts at night. What that has done is, during these periods, we do not need to utilize our internal sources as much as we typically would if we're not getting any energy from Mexico. So our intentions there is to, of course, reduce the amounts, or basically save our internal resources as much as possible, so that should there be a need from CFE to reduce their supply to us, then we would have to then rely back on the sources in country. So that is the idea. Of course, with the additional gas turbine going in, then we would have that 20 megawatts and then be able to supply or have more generation available.
But that would be like...
All that is a projection and hope should the gas turbine come online on June 15th. But what happens if the plan goes west? Will Belize be left in the dark? That question was also answered.
What we will do is continue to rely on our large customers, asking them for support, work with the community to do the energy efficiency programs, do things such as doing family time. So instead of having 3 rooms with ACs being on, I'll do 1 movie time at night time with 1 AC on. That is a way in which we can do these energy conservation methods that will help us to get through that difficult time.
Are you able to speak in relation to reliance?
Depending highly on CFE and the national grid to supply the country with electricity, today Tariq Marin, BEL's manager, posted at the Distribution Planning Department, spoke on what the company is doing for the national grid to remain functional.
What has happened to us is, while we're going through generation issues, we are also managing the operation of the grid. with climate change, what has happened is the grid is under stress, and what we have realized is we've had a lot of fires, both bush fires and pole top fires, which is caused due to the impact of dust on our insulators. Our intentions is to change these insulators to better quality insulators that are able to deal with dust and these contamination issues. So the idea is we are working through the generation issues, but at the same time trying to do critical maintenance on our grid to ensure the impact of climate change, the impact of dust and contamination is reduced.
When you tell people, please help with conserve, what are the things they can unplug to assist with that?
Right, so conservation is really the reduction of the use of electricity by utilizing things that are critical or needed. So conservation, plugging out the unused equipment, turning off the lights, turning off fans. Instead of having multiple ACs on at the same time, reduce the temperature of your AC as well. Do not have it running at maximum. Reduce that temperature to say 24 degrees or maybe 25 degrees. And joining up as a family maybe to come together and watch a movie, watch a game together. Play some games in one room rather than all three people within one household being in varying rooms. Those are ways in which we can conserve. Those are ways in which we can reduce the electricity consumption, and together as a community we can make it through this time.
Coming up next, a bill is presented at the House that seeks to protect victims of sexual violations. We'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
Pro SC is here on Saturday, June 15th. Pro SC is back in Orange Walk Town inside the Orange Walk Multi-Purpose Complex. Pro SC 12. Vasquez versus Aguilar. For the main event, we have the 145 pounds professional MMA fight between undefeated Belizean MMA star Frank Mac Vasquez versus Mexico's Ari El Trompito Aguilar. We also have 8 other exciting MMA fights, including Orange Walk's very own 135 pounds champion Jalen Perez, as he takes on the #1 ranked fighter in Central America, Christian Centeno from Nicaragua, in a fight that will determine the #1 bantamweight in the entire Latin America region. It's going to be a night filled with exciting MMA action from start to finish. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. and the event starts at 7:30 p.m. sharp. General admission tickets are available at the Shell One Stop gas station in Orange Walk Town or from any Pro FC fighter. VIP tickets are by WhatsApp reservations only. 670-0716. Pro FC, Belize Premier MMA League.
At St. Francis Xavier Credit Union, I know that I can depend on them, and they have been here for me when I needed it most. There have been several instances where emergencies popped up, and they were here for me. So that is what I like most. The services here, I believe it's very important for the community. It lends a hand to most of the community or all who want to be part of it. and it caters for all levels in society, especially ones like me who we don't have all the time what we need. So we can depend on the credit union just like the farmers can, teachers can, and the general public.
After experiencing numerous load sheddings due to a high energy demand, Belize has been assured that electricity supply from Mexico's Comisión Federal de Electricidad, CFE, will stabilize starting no later than this weekend, according to Minister of Public Utilities, Logistics and E-Governance, Michelle Shabat. Addressing the House of Representatives this morning, the minister said outgoing Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador personally gave this assurance in a meeting along with Prime Minister John Briceño a few weeks ago. Belize is also committed to receiving 25 megawatts more of electricity supply from CFE.
By 25 megawatts more. Mr. Speaker, it is worthy to note that Mexico will be adding about 120 gigawatts of new generation capacity, and this will further stabilize the supply to Belize. But we are not stopping at this. As a responsible government, we understand the need for Belize to attain energy independence and energy security. In this regard, we have been working with the PUC and BL to add additional generation sources to our energy mix. In the immediate term, we will meet energy demands with the newly commissioned gas turbine at Westlake and the soon-to-be commissioned gas turbine in San Pedro by mid-June. In the short term, we are working with the World Bank to install 40 megawatts of battery, which we expect to be operational by 2025.
Additionally, funds from the World Bank will establish a 40 megawatts battery program for electricity storage by 2025, and the Saudi Arabia-funded 60 megawatt triple solar plant is being fast-tracked for 2026, with more sources of solar and battery storage to be implemented from the private sector. But Belize is also committed to greater energy independence and the increase of renewable sources of energy for the national grid, which Shabat says is expected to rise from 53 to 75% under the recently approved National Energy Plan.
The Millennium Challenge Corporation is assisting Belize with our medium-term plans by creating the investment environment to invite an additional 50 megawatts of solar and 20 megawatts of battery from the private sector, and is assisting us in conducting the necessary analysis to reinforce our grid and prepare our grid to receive these new technologies and weather the new storms as a result of climate change. We anticipate that the persistent load shedding we have been experiencing will abate once the gas turbine in San Pedro is commissioned and the supply from CFE stabilizes in June. Mr. Speaker, in these 3 years, this government has done what was not done in the previous 13 years.
After receiving an all-time high of 127 megawatts of demand last week, that demand is expected to grow even further to 135 megawatts during summer and up to 165 megawatts in future years. By contrast, Mexico is adding 120 gigawatts of power to its grid, according to Shabat. New regulations will allow ordinary Belizeans an opportunity to invest in solar power and sell back excess to the national grid, though the Belize Solar Industry Alliance, BSIA, has countered that publicly. The Belize Assembly for Persons with Disabilities and others paid keen attention to today's session of the House of Representatives. That is because a bill was brought to the House by Honorable Dolores Balderramos, who is the Minister of Human Development, Families and Indigenous Peoples. She introduced a bill to protect persons with disabilities termed Belize Disabilities 2024. The bill is directed at strengthening the rights and enforcement of the rights of persons living with disabilities in Belize, and will also see the formation of a commission that will be charged with making sure that laws are adhered to for the protection of this marginalized group of the Belizean population.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to introduce a bill for an act to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of privileges, interests, rights, benefits, and treatment by persons with disabilities on an equal basis with persons without disabilities, to establish the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, to establish the Disabilities and Equal Opportunities Rights Tribunal, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Last but not least, the Disabilities and Equal Opportunities Tribunal, so that the Commission may refer a complaint to the Tribunal for resolution with recourse to the High Court if necessary, and delegating judicial powers in this way will promote efficient access to justice without increasing the reliance on already burdened court system. Mr. Speaker, the effective implementation of this framework contained in the draft would require collaboration between government, private sector, and civil society. The potential benefits of increasing access to opportunities and raising the quality of life could increase productivity and could contribute to the reduction of multi-dimensional poverty. We are looking at Sustainable Development Goal number 1, reducing poverty, Sustainable Development Goal 3, good health and well-being, Sustainable Development Goal 5, gender equality, Sustainable Development Goal 8, Mr. Speaker, decent work and economic growth for all, and Sustainable Development Goal number 10, reduced inequalities.
For Minister Balderramos Garcia, the bill is highly due since at least 10% of the Belizean population has some sort of disability. In fact, today was a testament that even the building that is home to the House of Representatives as is does not provide for persons that are disabled.
Ms. Natisha actually had to pull herself up because the wheelchair couldn't come in the assembly this morning. And I can totally identify with Ms. Natisha. I had my own struggles because the National Assembly as it is not designed for wheelchair and disabled access. We're going to change that. We must change it. But let me ask that we give everyone that I have mentioned and those that I may not have mentioned a round of applause. Mr. Speaker, it's very, again, a humble and proud moment. But this bill seeks the upliftment of persons with disabilities, and it furthers Belize's compliance with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We want to put in place appropriate legislative and administrative measures for the implementation of the rights that are recognized in the Convention, and this legislation will directly provide for the safeguarding of the constitutional rights that have been absent in existing legislation, but which are applicable to persons with disabilities. If I am correct, persons living with disabilities represent approximately 15% of our population. Let's think about that. And their ability to enjoy a standard of living comparable to the rest of society is largely governed by the ability of caregivers to make necessary adjustments and sacrifices, often at high costs and to the detriment of employment opportunities, which can prevent socio-economic growth. The state's role in providing resources and services to persons with disabilities is globally recognized as a crucial part of any national social protection system. However, the responsibility must be borne by all levels of society. A robust legislative framework governing the rights of persons with disabilities is required to appropriately allocate responsibilities across main actors in the area and close existing gaps in data collection and resource mobilization.
Earlier this month, former Agriculture CEO Hugh O'Brien concluded an economic analysis into port charges included as part of the commercial agreement between the millers and the sugarcane farmer associations. The independent look into these charges came as part of an agreement between the government of Belize, the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, and BSI-ASR back in January as part of the agreement for a 2-year commercial agreement. The conclusion of that analysis found that terminal handling charges and throughput fees are justified port charges. Now, while the millers celebrated these findings, the Sugarcane Farmer Association was not impressed. This matter, according to Chairman of the SICB, Marcos Osorio, stems from a long, dragged-out mistrust between both entities.
The challenge within the sugar industry between the BSCFA and the mill has been an ongoing issue because of trust and the lack of transparency coming from the mill. The Hugh O'Brien report was basically to verify if the charges that BSI wanted now to itemize within the net strip value, if they are legitimate charges. It was verified that the charges were legitimate, but as you mentioned, BSI had been making those charges, those deductions, long before, but they were, in some way, we can put it into the term of hiding those charges. And now, I believe because of added purposes or whatever, now they came to the association and said, now we have been charging you this, but this time around we need to itemize it within the net strip value or the statement. The same thing happened with the manufacturing allowance. In 2017, when they made an addendum to the commercial agreement, where somehow they convinced the associations that they need to make further investments in the mill, and that now they need to itemize the same way the manufacturing allowance on brown sugar or DC sugar, because on the argument that we have been charging it for some years now, but we have been charging it under other headings. But now we need to remove it from there and itemize it so that it shows in the statement. So how can you expect that the farmers will trust you when you do things without they knowing? Then you come around and say, but I have been charging you, I just want to make it now, put it this way, want to make it a little transparent.
A possible solution for this mistrust, according to Osorio, is an audit of the industry, which the farmers have been calling for.
BSFA has been calling for a forensic audit, but you remember BSI has defended it, arguing that this is private enterprise, and they have told even government, we want no one to regulate us. We don't want to operate under any law. We are a private enterprise, the farmers are a private enterprise. Leave us alone. But where they bank on is that, the divide and conquer strategy. We have today 4 associations, and I think that's the worst situation. That's the worst thing that could have ever happened to our industry, to divide further. And unfortunately, they control some of the associations. And then why we see it's only BSFA, because it's only BSFA that trying to put the fight to ensure that their farmers get a better benefit from the industry.
And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speed flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of smart lightning-fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't let this plan. I can't let this plan.
ITSAT STEAM Academy is a four-year government high school that does focus on science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics, which is called STEAM.
Before this, I've been to other high schools or private schools, and just being here feels so much more different. But my experience with STEAM in a whole, I love it.
ITSAT STEAM Academy, we are inclusive.
Females in robotics, I think that we could have a lot of success.
This has been the best experience school life I've ever had. It brings out your creative and innovative side in almost all subjects. In fact, in all subjects.
My experience at STEAM Academy is stunning.
Our students will, I hope, tell you that they are happy to be here, because from the moment they set foot in the campus in the morning to the moment they leave, they're engaged in interesting activities which have real meaning to their lives. And by doing this, the learning is much deeper, more effective and long-lasting.
At St. Francis Xavier Credit Union, I know that I can depend on them, and they have been here for me when I needed it most. There have been several instances where emergencies popped up and they were here for me. So that is what I like most. The services here, I believe it's very important for the community. It lends a hand to most of the community or all who want to be part of it. And it caters for all levels in society, especially ones like me who we don't have all the time what we need. So we can depend on the credit union just like the farmers can, teachers can, and the general public.
Human rights activists are today rejoicing after the anti-sexual harassment bill is inching towards becoming law in Belize. It comes at a time when there is an increase of sexual offenses where the alleged perpetrators include at least one minister of government, family members, police, church leaders, teachers, and other government workers. The bill seeks to protect minors and women who are the most propensive of being violated sexually. Once written into law, persons will be able to legally fight off any violations regarding sexual harassment, redress for persons who have been sexually violated, and protection against sexual harassment as per Chapter 107 of the Protection Against Sexual Harassment in the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020. Today, Minister Dolores Balderramos made a most welcome announcement in the House of Representatives that will seek to protect victims of sexual violations.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Speaker, this is the Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill 2024. I rise to introduce a bill for an act to make new and robust provisions for the prevention and protection of persons from sexual harassment, to provide for a right of redress for any person who has been sexually harassed, to repeal the Protection Against Sexual Harassment Act, Chapter 107 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Mr. Speaker, I won't say much on this bill today. We will save it, I believe, for the second reading, only to say that we are being progressive in signaling that in this country we have zero tolerance for sexual harassment and that kind of wrongdoing. Mr. Speaker, this bill has the recommendation of Cabinet, and I would like to ask that the bill be referred to the Public Service, Labor, Industry, and Trade Committee for examination, consideration, and report.
Honorable members,
these are the two young, vibrant students who attend Hope Christian Academy in the community of Raven Ridge, located in the outskirts of the Orange Walk district. The students and their teachers were at the Central Park here in town this morning, where they hosted their annual open day to showcase the works of students done throughout the academic year. Now, while these school projects might not be what you would traditionally see at a primary school open day, the students at Hope Christian Academy are engaged in a school curriculum which includes a heavy concentration on vocational skills like baking, sewing, cooking, and even gardening.
So today is our open day. During the school year, the children do all their vocational skills like sewing that you see out there. We do sewing, we do music, they're playing their music, they're singing, we do gardening, we do arts and craft, we do baking, all those things we do. And at the end of the year, we usually have an open day. This is our second time here in the park in Orange Walk. And it's to showcase not only the school, but the talents that the children have.
So all the things that you guys are out here presenting are made by students?
They're made by the students. We have, unfortunately, our sewing teacher couldn't be here with us today, but they did a great job with the sewing. So we have bags, we have pillowcases, we have sheet sets, we have
aprons, pot holders, they have plant holders, various items that the students made themselves.
For the 30-plus students of Hope Academy, their day is comprised of academics in the morning and vocational skills in the afternoon, a system which academics coordinator at the school says allows students with different learning abilities to excel.
Our timetable is set up in such a way that in the mornings every day we do all our academics. So you'll find that we have Bible, math, science, social studies, language arts, and then in the afternoon is when we do all our vocational like music and gardening and life skills and colporting and like that.
Talk to us about the importance of having your students, exposed to these kinds of skills, sewing, baking, these things that are used in everyday, life.
I think it's very important because, as we all know, not all our students are academically inclined. So those students will have a chance in life, even though they might not be able to go on to tertiary level or university. They will already have a skill and they can become their own little entrepreneurs and have their own little business and suffice themselves in life.
Since opening its doors in 2010, Hope Academy has been able to mold the lives of many young students who have excelled academically while also staying true to their philosophy and country atmosphere.
So our school started back in 2010, and it has been a journey for us, a very long journey, but we're happy for the success. There are many parents who believe in what we do at the school, and they love to see the children have a serene environment, that they are out in the country and they can do all these things without the interference of outside, and distractions. Yes, they're well nurtured. A lot of them comes from homes that they need a lot of love and care, and we are all mothers there for them, so we support them in everything that they do. And they love what they're doing. They love the learning process that they go through every day and the different things that we do, so it's very good for them.
Also, we have students that graduated from there that went on to high school. Like they have the Adventist High School in Belize City. We have students that went to St. John's College. We have students that have graduated. As a matter of fact, this year for our graduation, one of our past students, he is going to be our guest speaker. So they have succeeded.
Well, we have students from the area, and we also have students from Biscayne Village, the nearby community. They commute. That's our school bus out there, that red and white bus. I drive the bus. So I brought everybody this morning, and we do that every day. It's a beautiful experience because in the morning when we come, the children sing all the way to school. In the evenings when we go back, they say their tables. So everybody, the entire school know to say from 2 times to 12 times tables.
And what is the number of students?
Currently we have 36 students.
Leaders, educators?
Yeah, we have 6 teachers.
For both academics?
For both academic. Well, we have the music teacher, and then support staff. We have the sewing teacher, and then I do the baking, and we teach them cooking and baking.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Friday, May 31st, here on Ctv3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at Ctv3 News BZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at Ctv3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.